Hello and welcome to the dark web, where the few, the proud, and the deviant go to get their Shakespeare Sonnet fix on. I'm Tootight Lautrec, drag laureate of the Sonnetarium, and here we are in the Sonnetarium at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainders section of an unnamed local library which may or may not have a lion couchant or two resting on the steps, waiting for you to saunter by and say hello. Today we are at the end, I tell you, of the procreation sonnets, and thank the bard for that. We're on Sonnet 17, and after that we will be free to go out gallivanting into the summer safely and responsibly, and we'll have all of the procreation sonnets behind us with a lot of maybe, ideas on our minds for the hot summer nights. Who knows? Last week, we looked at sonnets 15 and 16, that bait and switch sonnetus interruptus duo, the whole lovely sonnet 15 and then the sonnet 16, the no gay though bro dampening of the sonnet 15 that came before it. So we went to sonnet 15, and in sonnet 15 we get, for the first time ever, never mind procreation. My poetry will make you immortal. You don't need to go along that procreation route. We'll cozy up together and I'll make you immortal. And then along comes sonnet 16 with a cold bucket of ice water to dump on top of everything, and it's kind of like, ooh, oopsie, nope, sorry, oh, sorry, no, oh, no, it's not my poetry. My poetry, on my poetry, I spit on my poetry. My poetry won't get you anywhere. Your penis will write the story of the generations to come for you. That's right, you can, you can find some young, lovely thing to foist your seed upon, and in that way, you will survive through the ages, and it will be you, forever and ever and ever. Almost amen, if Shakespeare were that kind of a guy. But then, Sonnet 17 comes along and combines these two ideas of poetry and procreation as immortalizing forces, and Sonnet 17 says, right, I'll say it, I admit it, I'm a poet, damn it, and I'm a damn good poet at that, and along with procreation, my poetry will make you immortal. You will live forever in the eyes of men and women and all other beings, and you will live through the ages so that 400 years from now, some drag queen somewhere in an undisclosed location will be talking about these sonnets that I'll be writing and you'll be featured in. So let's look at Sonnet 17 and see what it has in store for us, and I'll read it through once and then we'll go through it to clear up any ticklish situations that we might encounter with the language. Sonnet 17. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Though yet, heaven knows, it is but as a tomb which hides your life and shows not half your parts. If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age to come would say, this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned, like men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage and stretched meter of an antique song. But were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice, in it and in my rhyme. Okay, well, rhyme has the last word there, so I would say that has the supremacy of the two ways that the speaker intends to immortalize this person to whom he or she is speaking. But here we have again a reoccurrence of the you rather than the thou in the sonnets, which, as we've discussed before, may or may not mean something. But poetry can live a long time, as we've seen. Let's just go through to see if I can clear up a few things. Who will believe in my verse in time to come if it were filled with your most high deserts, all the good things that you are? Who would believe it if I drew a picture of lovely little you? Because you're so lovely, no one would believe it. They would say many things, which we'll get to. Though yet heaven knows it is but as a tomb which hides your life and shows not half your parts. My poem it's like a dead thing. It won't show your true living, the high color of your cheeks and the pulsing of your blood and the look of ecstasy on your face at one time or another, depending on what we may or may not be doing. It won't translate any of these. There'll just be words on a page, and they can't do justice to who you are. But if I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, and here the first numbers means a metrical verse. So iambic pentameter has a certain number of beats and stresses. If I could write the beauty of your eyes and in fresh numbers, in fresh poems or in fresh verses, number all your graces, the age to come would say, this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. As I said, it's a continuation of what I said before. You're so lovely, poetry can't do you justice. And continuing on that theme, so should my papers, the papers on which I write these poems, so should my papers, yellowed with their age, they're 400 years old now, so should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, chattering old men who like to tell tall stories about their beautiful person that they were in love with when they were young. Well, who believes them? You can't really tell because this old person is sitting next to them and he or she is not quite as beautiful as this person says that they were in their halcyon days. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage. A poet's, the hyperbole of a poet, and stretched meter of an antique song. Well, this poet got ahead of himself or herself and wrote all this stuff. It couldn't possibly be true because who's that good looking? Nobody. Who's that wonderful? Nobody. Who's that funny? Well, I mean, not everyone, but still. And then we get the couplet. But were some child of yours, all these things. No one would believe me. You're wonderful. No one would believe me. My poems won't do you justice. But if you had a child, were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice, not only in it and in my rhyme. So not only would you live in the vision of your child, but you would live in this, my rhyme. And I do find it interesting that the last line, you should live twice in it and in my rhyme. It doesn't specify a gender of the child. It doesn't say whether it's a him or a her, and yet him, the word him or the word her, would fit just as well metrically with this line. You should live twice in him and in my rhyme, or you should live twice in her and in my rhyme. He doesn't specify it, but I find it interesting that the child is considered an it at this point, maybe because it hasn't yet been born. So, procreation's not enough. Time beats us all down, but poetry lives forever. So, they're making another delivery to the Sonnetarium, I can see. There are lots of things going on in the Sonnetarium lately, and heaven knows what will become of it when we go off on our summer vacation. So, procreation and poetry together. Poetry, we can see, has worked. Procreation, we don't really know if this is a real person or not, to whom it's being addressed. So, the jury's out still on whether that worked. And we do know that lines end after the death of a person who holds the family name. Sometimes they stop the lineage right there in England. So what if we took the dramatic possibilities of this poem, if we took it all by itself without any context, that it's in a sonnet sequence and that it's number 17 out of 154. If we took it just by itself, it could be said by anyone of any sex to anyone of any sex. There's no indication of whether there's a male or a female speaking or being spoken to at all. So there are all kinds of dramatic possibilities, and insert one as you will for your own pleasure. But since, if we take a step back and think about the fact that this is number 17 in a book that is filled with 154 sonnets that are ordered in a particular way, if we consider this the correct way, what are the dramatic possibilities of this poem in the context of that developing story? Or even better yet, what would be the context, what would be the dramatic possibilities if these first 17 sonnets were the first act of, I mean, imagine if there was a theatrical performance of all 154 sonnets, as if it were a play, and each sonnet was spoken in order. How might you imagine it? I could imagine it could be one couple. All of 17 could be between one couple. It could be two couples. It could be three couples. It could be four couples. I could imagine the stage lit, the spotlight on whoever's speaking at different times throughout the action until we get to sonnet 17. It could be something like that. There could be men. There could be women. There are some restrictions on where it does indicate that there is a male being addressed. So there are some restrictions in that sense, but it's pretty much open. It could just be one couple. Who knows? Or, you know, I'm not going to start casting calls yet, and I won't start making the stage directions because we still have to get all the way up to 154. Our ideas about what's happening in the sonnet sequence could fall apart as the action develops, and we'll be able to adjust as we go along. Are these sonnets, excuse me, some sort of call and response? Could it possibly be that there are silent people on the stage who don't respond to when one sonnet is read out? That's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. But maybe you're not into drama. Maybe you're not a drama queen. Convince me. But if you're not a drama queen, and you just want to do your stupid lesson while the sirens come and go throughout the Sonnetarium, if you're not a drama queen, and you just want to read the sequence as a book, as if it's a novel or a fictional account ordered this way, that's completely fair. I understand completely. But say that you're still compelled to find some sort of coherent story. Well, we've looked very closely at the first 17 sonnets, and I've identified where a male is being addressed, but we haven't identified the sex of the speaker. There's no indication, as far as I can tell, of if it's a male or a female speaking these poems. Now, people take for granted that because Shakespeare was a man, that the narrator is obviously a man, but I don't take that as a given, because the sonnets are, from most of the scholarship believes that they were written in the 1590s, and in the 1590s, who was the most powerful person in the land? Queen Elizabeth I, a woman. So the idea that these could be spoken by a woman to another person is not off the table in my books. And also, if Shakespeare is able to write dramatic moments for his female characters, he writes Cleopatra as forcefully as he writes Antony, and he is as persuasive as Portia as he is as Bassanio when he's speaking. So I'm not saying that that is necessarily the case, but also consider Sir Walter Raleigh, who in 1600 wrote The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd in the voice of a woman. It's not out of the idea. I mean, it's not a new idea that a man steps into a woman's shoes to perform a particular dramatic piece. I'm just saying. So, perhaps these 154 sonnets do call for a full theatrical performance. I would love to see that someday, just to see what people could get up to. There are all kinds of various things that they could do. But perhaps there is no unifying story, or series of plots and subplots, or parallel stories going along in this. Perhaps they are just little practice pieces for dramatic moments that Shakespeare may have considered placing here or there in one play or another plays that he had not written. Or maybe he just wanted to keep his chops and, you know, pound out a sonnet every once in a while just to make sure that he could do it. That is possible. Or there's the other idea that perhaps this is a personal journal in sonnets where Shakespeare really is plumbing the depths of his feelings towards someone and recording it for us, or for someone, for that someone maybe, or for other someones, because there do seem to be, as we go along we'll see, other characters who appear in it. It doesn't seem to be confined simply to two people. So those are all possibilities. Thoughts? Ideas? Anyone? 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 No? Okay, well, think about it. Feel free to join in the conversation, to give me a comment if you have ideas about possibilities for these sonnets, possibility for this sonnet, if you think they could be performed all together, or if you think they are simply small theatrical moments. We here in the Sonnetarium, Sergio and I, will sign off here for now, and we'll scurry off to our hidey hole in the cloistered convent of curious souls, which discalced, and we'll be gone for the summer. We may post a thing or two here or there of interest that isn't related to the sonnets, but I'm going to spend my time in the cloistered convent of curious souls with my heart and my mind open and my senses alive so that I can pay all the wonders that are in the world the attention they deserve. And I hope you do the same. Until we meet again, I'm Tootight Lautrec.